Being a peaceful person and being a peacemaker means that you are first to take responsibility. You do not wait for the other person to come. The Bible says, if you have an issue with your brother, paraphrasing, of course, yeah? If you have an issue with your brother, it says go and meet him. It doesn't say wait for him to come meet you. This is like the biggest issue, and if you are just able to go beyond this step, a lot of people will find like they will have more conflicts resolved. Stop being silent and waiting for the other person to kind of figure stuff out and come and meet you. You have to take responsibility. That's what maturity is. Being able to take responsibility for your actions, for your relationship, for whatever it is you desire to, the results you desire to see. You want to be at peace with someone. You want to be at peace in your relationships, which you should want to. You have to learn to take the first step.
What if some people now don't want peace? They just want problems. Oh, yeah.
You're not responsible for what somebody else does. You're only responsible for what you do. yeah, I get that. But the truth about some people have these questions, yeah? But I'm only responsible for what I can't take responsibility for somebody else's actions, but I can take responsibility for my actions, which means I can do what I need to do. Which means if I'm in conflict with someone, I feel like I was disrespected, or we had an argument, or we have a disagreement, or this is just Cold War. We have a fight or whatever, or I can just tell that there's tension and everybody's walking on eggshells around each other. It's up to me to take the first step. This responsibility. Maturity is me going to take the first step. You got to put aside your pride. You got to put aside your ego. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but you have to learn to take the first step. If more people did this, there would be less divorces, less breakups in friendship, and in all kinds of relationships. Take the first step. Call that friend up that you haven't talked to in a while because you know that you're in conflict with them, instead of permitting to resolve the conflict. It might mean... and that's the thing about it. There's a lot of steps to conflict resolution. Yeah, the first step is actually taking responsibility. I think I'm just going to kind of breeze through them. It would be nice to really talk about them in depth, but there's no time for that. So the first step is actually taking the first step. The next step is actually apologizing or taking responsibility for your part in the conflict. It takes two people to have conflict. Even if it is 99% their fault, there is the part that you can take responsibility for. It can't be just, for example, your poor response. It can be that, okay, someone came and, and they shouted and all, and you too, because you were angry and you didn't understand where they were coming from, you shouted back, or you just gave them the cold shoulder. Whatever, you have a part. It always takes two to have conflict. So if you have conflict with someone, before you point out their faults, before you point out how you feel about the situation, first take responsibility for your actions. Even if it's as simple as saying, oh, I could have listened better, or I didn't make you feel heard or understood, or I'm sorry that I shouted at you. Whatever it is, just when you take responsibility for your actions, one thing it does, it kind of disarms people. Yeah, because they're expecting to come and defend themselves. Usually that's what happens in conflict. Two people defending themselves.
Where have I seen this before?
Yeah.
Where have I seen this before? Wait. So, wait. Okay, so I don't know how many of us ever watched cowboy movies, right? Mm-hmm. Like where you see, like, okay, for those of you that never watched any of those things, like you see two men, mm-hmm. they're standing opposite each other. There's space in between them. Mm-hmm. And like the first, now basically it's just like both of them have guns, and the next thing they're about to shoot at each other, mm-hmm. right? So the first person that gets the gun out and shoots the person wins, and all that.
Exactly.
So that's exactly how conflict is.
Exactly. And the thing about it is most people are not trying to resolve the conflict. They're just trying to win. One of the most important things you have to remember when you're trying to resolve conflicts is you want to actually resolve the conflict. It's not about winning. My goal is to resolve the conflict, not to win. I don't want to say what's the advantage of winning if I lose the relationship? I might win the argument and lose the relationship. I might win the argument and lose the person. You don't want to be so addicted to winning that you're willing to sacrifice the relationship. The goal is to resolve the conflict. It's not to win the argument. It's not to argue even. It shouldn't be about arguing. The goal is to resolve the conflict. Exactly. So when the goal is to resolve the conflict, it changes how you do things. It changes your approach. It changes what you say and how you say it. Yeah. So you want to, firstly, approach first. Don't wait for them to approach you. And when you approach, you want to take responsibility for your actions. And when you take responsibility for your actions, what happens is it kind of cools down the atmosphere a bit. Because now I don't feel like I have to defend myself. You're not attacking me. You're just talking about you. You're not talking about me. Now I don't have to be on the defensive. Now we can have a civilized conversation. No promises, of course, but there's more likelihood of that. There's a higher chance that we can have a civilized conversation because I'm not on the defensive. I don't have to say things just to win. Now I can really say how I feel because you're kind of creating an atmosphere for me to speak my truth. And it's where this is kind of like a common thing. I don't know how many people have heard about it, but there's a common statement. You want to use I statements and not you statements. So I can't imagine, I can't assume. And this is what a lot of people do. You kind of assume, and I do it too, yeah. So I might be saying a lot of people, but I'm guilty about this sometimes. You assume what the other person is thinking. You assume their motivations. You assume why they said what they said. You assume what they meant.
Hey God.
You assume what's in their mind.
Drag me by my imaginary edges. You just want.
We all do it.
Me. Like, no, drag me by this imaginary.
I do it too. And we kind of feel like we know what they mean. We know what they meant to say. We know where they are coming from, but you don't. You really don't, and you got to remind yourself about that. So when you are taking responsibility, or okay, of course, after taking responsibility, we'll come to that. You got to listen to what they have to say. But you want to first state what the conflict is about. So I'm angry because I felt like, for example, I could tell someone I'm living with, or in the scenario I gave earlier, I felt like you weren't really interested in what I had to say. Like you just wanted to tell me what it is that you had to say. Like you didn't want to have a conversation. You'd made up your mind. And I felt like you were blaming me for something that was not my fault. Yeah, and because of that, I felt hot. Because I felt like I've been trying to understand where you're coming from. And I could have understood where you were coming from if you could have just described the situation to me. But I felt attacked.
That's it.
And you see, in everything I said,
That's the thing. That's the word. That's the word there.
Yeah.
That's the word there. That's the word there. Like, and that's how I say. That is how a lot of people feel when instead of the funny part, instead of instead of us to confront the issue, it's like we're confronting
the
each
person. Exactly. We make the person the enemy.
And when you confront the person feels attacked. And
yeah.
that's normal human behavior. When you feel attacked,
you have to respond.
This is how most human beings live their life every day. Like,
honestly,
okay, like in defense mode, you get, and I relate to you because yes, I've been. Okay, I'm not going to say this one yet. It's not me. But wait, no, keep on first.
So yeah, you see, in everything I said, I've only spoken about me. Because I can't assume what you meant by what you said. So you don't want to say, you shouted at me, you made me angry, you hurt me, you had it out for me, you were attacking me. You were just crazy, you were just mad at me for no reason. That, of course, now I feel attacked. Because I might have just decided, or I might have made up my mind to just, maybe what I had in mind was I wanted to tell you, okay, like I'm really frustrated and I really need your help. And so I'm asking for your help. That's what might have been in the other person's mind. But then they don't express it the proper way because they are stressed and they are angry and the situation is tense. Now, when I say this, now I'm forced to defend myself because that's not what I had in mind. I'm not out to get you. I just needed help. Do you get it? So many times you got to use I statements. You want to talk about how the action made you feel. Not what about the action meant, because you don't know what it meant. You have an idea, but you can't be sure it's true. You're not in the person's mind. So you just want to talk about how it affected you and how you felt, because you can only speak realistically 100% surely about your feelings and how you perceive things. It seemed like you were angry at me when I haven't been the reason why you've been so busy. It seemed like you weren't listening to me when I was trying to tell you how I felt. It seemed like you were not taking the conversation seriously when it was something very important to me. That's what it seemed like to me. But I don't know what you meant. So that's the step. And then after that, you've got to really now give the other person an opportunity to speak. To speak. You said what you felt. You said, and sometimes you don't even need to start with what you felt. Sometimes, and actually it's a very, very good practice to just say, okay, it seems like, for example, we disagree about this topic. It's actually better most times to just start with the conflict itself. It seems like we don't agree on this. Why do you think that is? Or what's your issue with it? Or how do you see it? And then listen. Oh, goodness. Listen. That's something I've got to tell myself over and over again, because many times we make that mistake over and over again. We are so intent on talking. We can't wait for our turn to speak. It's like you're waiting for someone to finish speaking just so you can respond.
Like human beings, I feel like human beings just listen. They just listen to actually reply. Because even a response most times is probably well thought of. Human beings listen to reply. They don't listen to respond. They're just giving you tit for tat.
Yeah, that's when you're working from your feelings. Of course, we're not saying we don't have feelings, but to really resolve conflicts, you've got to step out of your feelings. You have to be able to rationally look at the situation. Yeah. And many times it requires you to, not many times, actually every time it requires you to really listen. There's a common saying that the reason why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth is so that we can listen twice as much as we talk. I forget that. People forget that. But the Bible says, really, whoever can control his mouth, has control of his whole body. You've got to listen. You've got to listen not just to the words, but to the feelings. You've got to listen to body language. For example, I come and, there's been Cold War. I like that phrase, Cold War, yeah. We haven't been speaking for the past 2 days. And I know we had an argument the last time we saw each other. And now I want to resolve the conflict. And I call you aside and say, I want to speak to you. And I say, how you doing? I'm fine. I'm all right. I'm good. I'm fine. You're really not fine. If I'm really listening to you, I can tell you're not fine. It sounds like you're fine. That's what you're saying. But body language, you're not fine.
Yeah, you can tell the person.
Yes, exactly. So you've got to listen to both body language and words. You've got to listen to the feelings behind the words. If I say, for example, I was really angry, that's why I said what I said, I didn't mean it. You got to listen to the feelings behind the words. Maybe what I felt like was I was pressured. I was frustrated. Why was I angry? Because I just said I was angry, that's why I said what I said. But why was I angry in the first place? Why did I feel like that? Why am I feeling frustrated? You got to really, really try to understand from the person's perspective. There's one really beautiful thing. The more you understand people, the easier it is to resolve conflicts with them. If I understand you, if we're really close friends, and I try to put myself in your shoes, it's always easier to resolve a conflict than not trying to understand you. The more you try to understand someone and you are able to understand them, you find that you will resolve conflicts quicker and restore relationships more. Understanding. If I can put myself in your shoes and say, okay, if really I'd been having a couple of weeks like this, I probably would have reacted the same way. If I'd had a day like you had, I probably would have been more angry. That's understanding. Being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Empathy.
Being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes.
More understanding, better conflict resolution. So you got to really listen and listen to understand, not listen to reply or to respond like we said. You got to really, really listen to understand. And your turn is coming. feel like just because you're going to listen to somebody, I'm not going to have my chance to say what I want to say. Just be patient. Your time is coming. Because sometimes people feel like, oh, if I don't get what I have to say out there, the opportunity is going to pass by. It's not a race. It's a conversation.
Hey God.
Yeah, we're not trying to win points on who can speak their heart faster.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
You gotta really, really listen. Listen first and speak later.
Listen first, speak later.
You know, I started with saying about how you feel, but many times that's actually should come after you listen to the person. Listen, really, really listen. Because if I feel like you've listened to me, you know, listening doesn't necessarily mean you agree with somebody. Because sometimes people feel like if I listen to you, it's like I'm being converted to your point of view. That's not true. I can listen to you, empathize with you, understand with you, and still disagree. But I will feel respected, or you will feel respected, because you feel like you've been heard and you've been understood. And all of a sudden, there are less negative emotions and we're able to have better conversations. And we can resolve the conflict more. It doesn't necessarily mean that I agree just because I listen. I'm just trying to understand.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not even a conference. I'm not asking you to pay money.
Oh my goodness.
The truth is, these are just like everyday things. Right?
Everyday things in
Everyday
all
things.
kinds of relationships. You can't escape conflict.
You see that part of listening? I know we'll pretty much have to round up soon now, but like that part of listening. Like I know we've discussed in times past, and you've spoken about listening, like listening to people, like you being able to hear what has been said and what is not being said.
Mm-hmm.
You get? I feel like, okay, let me put it the way I can. Let me put it
Sure.
this way. Let me put it this way. There's a song by this popular musician. I won't mention his name here. I don't know what can happen to this. Please, I'm still young on YouTube. Maybe don't strike me. Thank you. But he sang a song. He was like, "You hear, but you don't listen."
Mm-hmm.
You hear, but you don't listen. And I feel like a lot of people hear. And the truth is, the thing about hearing is that, okay, yes, let me bring out the nerdy side of me. The thing about hearing is like, it's more like a sound. You're just hearing sound.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is talking, but you're just hearing sound. You're not. I think hearing is you just responding to the sound that the person is making. But
Exactly.
listening is you actually hearing not just the sound, the words in the sound, the emotions behind the words that are in the sound, like the entire mindset that even pushed every other thing that was just mentioned before that, right? Like, I don't know. And then you still being able to hear what is not being said behind what is being said.
Yeah. Really, really, you've got to be able to do that.
And I know it sounds like rocket science to some people, but
It sounds obvious. It sounds obvious many times, but in practice, it's something you've got to actually practice. And the more you practice it, the better you become at it. Actively listening. It's a skill. It's a skill that even sometimes people pay for.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a skill that people pay for.
Active listening.
Yeah.
Wait, is it? Wait, no, wait. So are you trying to tell me now that psychologists are paid to? Fine, they still give counsel, but they're also.
But
paid.
a lot of things they do is active listening. Listening, when you listen to somebody, it's a way of showing them love. When you really listen to someone properly, you love on them. Because you make them feel like you really see them. I understand you. I feel what you feel. I can see where you're coming from. I hear you. I really hear you. So it's a sign of love. And that's why if you can really listen to someone, many times you've cut the conflict in half. It doesn't necessarily mean that you agree. And it doesn't mean that you will agree. Sometimes you might have to make compromises. Sometimes you might have to agree to disagree. But there will be no negative feelings because the person feels you really hear me, you see me, you understand me, you love me. Because you're willing to wait on your opinion. You're willing to wait with what you have to say because I know you have something to say also. I know you have an opinion, but you're willing to let me express myself. You're willing to give me that space, that time, that respect, that ear, that care, that you're interested in what I have to say. So really, nothing beats listening.
So if you love me, you will listen to me.
Oh, it's one of the most powerful ways, especially in conflict. It's one of the most powerful ways of really. If more people would listen, there will be less conflicts. It takes two people to have conflicts. Yeah, and as much as conflicts are normal parts of every relationship, the way that you resolve them is and have fewer conflicts is actually by really listening. And I was going to say this. Many times, conflict. That's why I said there are different stages of conflict. It's very interesting. Like, of course, I can't draw a clear roadmap, but there are different stages of conflict. And many times, the way that you treat someone in your day-to-day relationship affects how you have conflicts with them. For example, if you always make sure that I feel loved, or I feel heard, or I feel understood, it's like love tanks. If you continually fill someone's love tank, when you have conflicts, they will be less blown up, less likely to lead to permanent changes, negative changes. It will be easier for you to, if you're used to having conversations, real conversations about feelings and things that are important. When you have conflict with someone, because you already have that practice, and there's already intimacy that's been built up, there's more trust. So now it's easier for me to trust that you have my best interest at heart. That you're not just trying to win me over to your way of thinking, but that you actually are interested in what I have to say. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, what I'm trying to say basically is, it's easier to resolve a conflict with your closest friends.
Yes.
Than with someone who's not so close of a friend, with your co-workers, for example. There's more opportunity for misunderstanding, because on a normal day, I'm not sure that you have my best interest at heart. If I haven't made that clear, usually, if I can't trust you, it's difficult for me to open myself up to you and say, oh, this is how I really feel. I'm afraid. Because I'm afraid, I'm lashing out. But it takes vulnerability to really say to someone that you're not sure where you stand, I'm afraid. You don't do that with just anybody. You don't just tell. There's some friends it's easier to tell, I'm really afraid, I'm scared. And some it's less easy because you're not sure. Will you take me seriously? Will it affect how you look at me? Will you laugh? Will you say something silly? Can I really be me? Will it change our relationship? Will you start looking at me a certain way? So basically, I'm trying to have better conflicts. You want to have better conversations. The more intimate a relationship is, the more you have intentionally try to be vulnerable outside of conflict, the easier it is to do in conflict.
Vulnerability. Oh wait. Now I get you.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Let's not be like I'm re-explaining what has just been said. So, what I'm getting is the relationships you have with people prior to a conflict can actually play a role in that in the resolution of that conflict and after the resolution of that conflict.
Exactly. Especially in the resolution, in how you resolve, in how easy it is to resolve.
Wow. So in other words, this is more or less like a challenge now to people. This is more or less a challenge to people. And I know, it's scary.
It is.
But it has to be done. Now,
it is.
I know, we have to be intentional nowadays. You have to be intentional. The people you call your friends, you have to be intentional. The truth is, that word friend,
it's kind of been overused.
It's been overused,
yeah.
Man.
It's like everyone's your friend.
Bro, it's like you went to school with someone does not make the person your friend. That's your schoolmate. That's your course mate or something. Because you guys are living in the same building, you are neighbors, not friends. Just because you guys go to the same church, you're members of the same church, you're not friends. A friend is someone that you make an intentional attempt to get to know, to get to understand, to stand by, to, I don't know, like, friendship is intentional. So when I call someone my friend, like, I know what I mean.
True.
Like, dude, guys, 2022. I know for those of us here at Sam Space Sha, I don't know about other people, but I believe we in Sam Space, that means me and you, I'm including.
Definitely.
Thank you. The resolution this year is to actually be intentional about life, right? Be intentional about life. Some episodes ago, I was talking about us facing our fears. Remember when I said that person that you feel like that person that you're scared to talk to, talk to that person. Yes, this is what I'm talking about now. Go and resolve that conflict.
Don't wait for the next friendship. That's what people do sometimes. Like, okay, I'm going to fix things. I'm going to avoid these kinds of things in my next relationship, or I'm going to fix that one. Fix the one that's right in front of you right now. Fix it. Fix it. Call that person up. Call them up.
See, the quality of person. I know the crazy part. Some people think that their friendships, and people don't know that your friendships play a particular role in your relationship. If you have done a very bad job in friendship, then believe me, you will most likely do a pretty bad job in relationships. Because
definitely in romantic relationships, it's very funny. Sorry to cut you short. Yeah,
sure.
This is like really funny because I was just telling someone yesterday. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, a couple of days ago anyway. I believe the foundation for marriage is friendship. And I believe the quality of the friend you are before you get married is the quality of spouse you're going to be. Because the core of marriage, this is my opinion, open to being corrected. The core of marriage is friendship. And so if you can't be a good friend to your friends of all sexes before you are married, that's the kind of friend you're going to be to yours. That's the kind of spouse you're going to be. People think that when you get married, like, things are suddenly going to be, you're just suddenly going to have this, you're going to know and suddenly start behaving differently, and your attitude is going to shift. You're going to do things differently just because you're married. You fall back to your norm. And if your norm is you're a bad friend, or you're not the best friend, or you're not a good friend, that's the kind of spouse you're going to be. So I feel like many times God gives us friendships before we get married to kind of practice for marriage. So if you don't learn conflict resolution with your friends, if you don't learn how to practice it, you're going to find it very difficult to do when you're married. That's what I think. And I've seen proof of it like a lot of times. Over and over again. I keep seeing proof of it.
Hey, did you know what? I'm going to highlight this thing in the video. I'll highlight this thing. I'll make sure I highlight it. I'll highlight this in the video, please. You fall to the level. Is it you fall to the level of your habits, right?
Yeah. You always go back to your habits. The quality of friend you are is the quality of spouse you're going to be. It's really that simple.
You fall to the level of your habits. He didn't change. That's who he's been.
Exactly.
She didn't change. That's who she's been.
When the honeymoon period is over.
Oh, jeez. There's always a lovey-dovey period, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, after the honeymoon period, please, I don't know when, but I'll bring her back.
I would love to be back.
I need to, like...
There's lots of stuff, of course, about conflict resolution. I don't think that one video is enough to kind of like sum it up. So I think the thing I'm going to say is it's something you want to study. There are many things like people don't feel like you should study, like you should intuitively know, and it's not true. If you have to study to pass classes that you don't even use every day, how much more the stuff you actually have to use more often than, say, chemistry? You have to actually study and practice how to resolve conflicts better. And this is a good start. This shouldn't be the end of your journey. And that's all I'm going to say.
Wow. Guys, Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Like, I don't even know where to start from, but this is a lot. This is a lot. Literally and like mentally, first and foremost, you're going to have to sit down and actually listen to this. At the end of it all, guys, really, conflict resolution is something we cannot run away from.
At all.
In friendships, in family, in any kind
With
of
your
relationship.
kids.
With your children.
Oh my goodness.
With your children. I am personally calling out African parents. African parents, they never
And if we're not
resolve conflict.
If we're not careful, we're going to do the exact same thing.
Yes.
Honestly, you got to be intentional. If you're not careful, no matter how much you say, this is what my parents did, this is what I wish they did, you're going to find yourself doing the same thing if you don't learn differently. And you're going to pass on the same habits and the same characters to your kids.
It can never be me.
Yeah. Learning how to say sorry to your child when you're wrong. Biggest issue.
African parents left the group chat. They
Because-
deleted the group and
And threw it away.
They deleted WhatsApp and threw
Oh
it
my
away.
goodness.
No.
Yeah.
But
So we've got to do better.
we definitely have to do better. And guys, from each and every one of us here at Sam Space, we want to say a very big thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Dr. Phoebe, for actually being here.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I had so much fun.
Whoa. Guys, I feel like this has to be a special episode. This one has to be a special episode. I don't know about you, Sha. It's going to be a special episode. I don't know. I'll try my best. It'll be a special episode. And guys, let's face our fears, okay? This is 2022. You know, at the end of the day, you fall back to the level of your habits. So the best thing we can do is to make sure that the habits that we fall back on are positive ones, right? So please, let's build that positive habit of conflict resolution. It is a habit, and a habit does not start. It doesn't just formulate itself totally in one day. It starts over time. You will try, you will fail, you will try again, and you will fail. I remember one of the videos where I said we go with God this year, right? So go with God. He'll help you, right? There's really no better way to put this, guys. Okay, so just have an amazing time. Okay, have an amazing year ahead, and please live fearlessly. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.